Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Karan and in this video I'll be talking about layers in Adobe Photoshop. So first off, what is a layer? An easy way to understand what a layer is to compare it to a physical piece of paper. When you work on any kind of an art project outside of a digital medium like a laptop or a computer, you would be working with a piece of paper. So similarly, in Photoshop, when you want to add any kind of content, when you want to create an element, add text or put paint onto your canvas, you would need to work with a layer. And in Photoshop, when you create a new document, usually by default, you have something called a background layer that's created. And you can find this layer in your layers panel. For me, it's on my panels column. It's already docked here. And if you can't find your layers panel, you can go to the menu bar and click on the window menu and select layers from the drop down options that appear. Its shortcut is also F7 on the keyboard. So the background layer, as you can see, is highlighted right now. And the reason it's highlighted is because it's selected. By default, it's the selected layer when you create a new document. And one more thing I'll point out here is that this background layer, is a locked layer. And you can tell it's a locked layer by this small lock icon on the far right side of the layer. And the reason, first off, what it means when a layer is locked is that you can't make any kind of changes, or you cannot move a layer that's locked, and you can't edit a locked layer in any way, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this layer, and you do that by simply clicking on that lock icon. And as soon as I did that, the name of this layer changed from background to layer 0. And the naming scheme in Photoshop is starting at 1, but in the case of layers, it starts off at 0. And because this is the first layer in my project or in this document, it's named as layer 0. Right now, this layer has a fill of white, right? Normally, when I compared a layer to a paper, one thing to notice there is that layers are completely transparent, unlike piece of papers, right? And well, if I'm saying it's transparent, then this layer should be transparent too. But because it's a preset option, right? Because a background layer is already made when you create a new document, this also comes with a white fill. And this is just to guide you in a way, and as a visual guide, that this is where your canvas is and this is where you want to be placing any kind of content or where you want to be creating your elements. And there is another icon in your layers panel right next to the layer name, and that's this eye icon. What that means is that this is right now a layer that's visible. If you click on that eye icon, it's hidden. The layer becomes a hidden layer. And as you can see, the moment I hit the layer, all you can see now is this checkered pattern. And what this checkered pattern means is that this is empty space, this is transparent space, there's no content on this. And the moment I unhide my layer 0, you can do that by just simply clicking where the eye icon was. The fill appears again. And if I move this layer, right now I've just had the move tool selected, which is the letter V. I'm holding and dragging this layer around, and you can see that as I move this layer, first off, there are some purple pinkish type of lines that appear. And what those are called visual guides. They're smart guides, and they're just to show you where your layer is, where it's how far it's going off to your left right now, or how far it's going to the right. And while I'm moving this layer, you can automatically see that as I'm moving it away from the frame of this canvas, right? I'm not resizing this layer, I'm just moving it. You can start to see this transparent checkered pattern again. So that means that below this layer, there's no other content, right? It's just an empty space below this layer. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a new layer, right? And you can add a new layer by going to your layers panel and going to the to the bottom right, to the bottom right side of your layers panel. And you can see this icon here, which is a box with a plus icon similar to my logo. And this is, as you can see with the pop-up, that's the button you want to click when you want to create a new layer. And as I clicked it, you can see now that there's a layer 1 option here. Now, if I hide this layer 0, you can again see that there's an empty space here. There's no content. But however, my layer 1 is selected. So the reason, like I said, layers by default are transparent. They have no content on them. They're empty spaces with just a fixed width and height. And that width and height is set to the width and height of the document you created, right? So now if I add a fill to this selected layer, layer 1, you can see how it changes, how your view changes, right? So if you want to fill any element, shape, or in this case, my layer, which is layer 1, you have to use what is called the paint bucket tool. And the keyboard shortcut for that tool is the letter G. And you can also find in the toolbars panel. It's right over here under your eraser tool. And if you right click on it, there are a few options that are available with the same tool group, but I want to use the paint bucket tool. Once my tool is selected, I have to select the color, right, that I want to fill into this layer. And I can do that by going to the colors panel in my panels column. And again, for me, this is already docked here. But if you can't find it, you go to your menu bar, click on the window menu, and just find where color is. And you can click on that and your colors panel will pop up, right? So I'm going to change this color into something somewhat of this kind of a color, and I'll fill it. I just filled it by clicking on the layer. You can click on this layer anywhere. It doesn't matter where you click and it'll fill the layer, right? Now, if I unhide my layer 0, which is right now hidden, if I make it visible by clicking on the eye icon, you can see that even though it's visible, there's nothing, the white fill that layer 0 has is not visible, even though both layers are now visible. The reason that's the case is because in Photoshop follows a top to down structure, right? So again, if you compare it to papers, right? If you compare it to, let's say there's a stack of papers that you have. So in a stack of papers, you're going to be able to view what's right at the topmost paper. Similarly, you won't be able to view what's below the topmost paper, right? So similarly in Photoshop, whatever is the layer that's placed on top in your layers panel is the layer you can view. And any content below that gets hidden, or it gets hidden behind this topmost layer. Now, obviously, if I want to view my layer 0 as well, I can simply go to my move tool, which keyboard shortcut is the letter V, and I can just select, while I have this layer selected, I can move this layer around. And as I move it around, you can see that the content of my below layer, which is the white fill, starts to appear. So working with layers is not that complicated. There are a few more types of layers which we'll see in my future videos and as we work on projects. So like a text layer, there are layers like text layers. In my previous video we worked with shapes, and those created something called shape layers. And so there are multiple kinds of layers in Photoshop. It's not just these empty layers that you make. And yeah, that's all I want to talk about in this video. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please do like this video and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out, and it'll also help other people who want to find out what a layer is, and maybe it'll help them get a better understanding as well. So, the more people share and like this video, the more they'll be able to, there's more exposure given to my videos. And let me know in the comments if there's any particular aspect that confused you in my video, or if there's anything you expect as another tutorial. If you have a request for something, or if you have doubts in Photoshop that you'd like me to clear out, I'll see what I can do and I can make a video about those issues, right? And yeah, thank you for watching, and stay tuned for my next video.